What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched the whole season of Trigun Stargaze, the second season, I guess, of the newer Trigun series, and potentially maybe we'll get a third one. I don't know.
I think story's over.
This feels like it's over. We'll talk about it, but it also leaves it in a way that they could do more if they wanted to. With that, though, I don't think we're going to go full spoilers into this, but we are going to talk about our thoughts of the whole season. We watched the whole thing, and I have some thoughts for sure. This one takes place 2.5 years after the last series and after the events of July. If you guys watched that season, hopefully you had a chance to watch Stampede. Otherwise, this is probably not the best review for you.
Go watch that first.
Yeah. We run into Meryl with her new partner, Millie, tracking down Vash after what happened at July. Vash is dealing with his own demons with that situation and hiding and finding his way to kind of come back into action and take care of what needs to be taken care of. We see the return of Million's Knives, his brother. I won't go into too much details on that, but he comes back, and we have some incoming people from Earth, possibly, there to help people, but things go awry, of course. We have the introduction of some new characters, some old returning characters that have new... I can't think of the word I'm looking for here. They have new roles, I guess, in the show, and we get some big reveals on things from the past and things going forward. And yeah, Vash is at it again, basically trying to stop his brother from doing a lot of what he was kind of doing in the first season, but in a new way. Is there anything else I should mention without going too far into spoiler territory? And if you guys want a spoiler talk, we can do that. If there's something you want us to talk about, let us know. We can do a separate episode for that. But I did notice when looking up Trigun Stargaze, there's not a lot of reviews out for it, which is kind of weird to me. And so I was like, there's like not a lot of people reviewing this. Maybe we should do like a spoiler-free talk just in case someone might want to watch it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, other than breaking down every small detail, I think you pretty much got the major points. So
Yeah, and it all culminates into a big, epic thing that happens at the end that we'll talk about as well as loosely as possible. But yeah, we watched the whole season as we said we would. What are your general thoughts of Trigun Stargaze?
Yeah, so like you said, it picks up 2.5 years afterwards. They do a good job of making it feel like time has passed as well. They refer to the events of what happened at the end of the last one to July as last July now, which is always kind of they're pretty good about like making fun terms for things in both seasons of the show, which is pretty cool. Right off the bat, again, Studio Orange is very good at making 3D shows, and they really kind of, I feel like, show off with the show a lot with that. The animations and choices of camera angles, because they have a camera in 3D, are really good and really fun. It lets you kind of really get into the action sequences really well with really interesting angles and stuff.
I thought they did fantastic with the last season. This season was even better, which you'd expect. It's newer, but I have a hard time thinking of anybody else out of Japan, I guess, who's making better 3D animation than them. It's really impressive stuff. It's very cinematic.
I don't know if there's any other studios that are like completely devoted the same way Orange is. So.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of animes out there that have 3D, and I haven't seen better than this. So they do a really great job on not only the animation, the 3D animation, but also the cinematography, the scenes, set pieces, the choreography. It's really impressive stuff. Watching both seasons, but this season in particular, I was the whole time going like, I can't believe they put this much work into this. It's really crazy.
Well, and then the way that characters are animated too still feels like anime, which is really cool because
Well, there's some scenes too where for a second I'm like, is this 2D? Do they do 2D animation here? But then like the next scene, someone's moving in 3D. I'm like, oh no, it's just like it just looks that good. Like when the camera's not moving around or the characters aren't moving in a 3D perspective.
yeah. So which would be like really good art direction as well. Also, the music's done really well in the series.
Fantastic. It's really good.
Really good at setting like an atmosphere and mood, which is nice. And for a world that takes place on a desert planet, they're good at keeping environments not boring looking too, which is really nice because I hate deserts. That's probably one of the most boring things for me, and I just don't even think about it. I didn't think about it at all watching the show, so that was really nice.
One time I think about it is when they're driving across just sand for a while. I'm like, that's so dangerous.
Yeah.
Just driving out there in the sun forever.
And yet they never get lost. So
Yeah.
and there's no water without the the plants. So yeah, I think another thing I liked about this season as well is we kind of saw it a bit in the first season, but with Vash, kind of dealing with his past and his relationship with his brother and stuff like that, and having to like kind of fight some inner demons a lot in this season, was a lot of character growth for him. Because like even if you've like watched the original show or the first season of the show, Vash is generally just kind of a pacifist kind of dude. So he'll fight, but he's not really trying to like actually hurt people. So and he's kind of put to the test specifically there's one scene where they really kind of put him to the test. I don't want to get too into it, but it was done very well. Very stressful scene. So yeah, the returning characters are all great. The new additions as well, as far as the show's concerned, are great. Millie is hilarious. I love her just kind of like carefree, just happy-go-lucky attitude in a world that really could use some of that. So
Yeah, she definitely adds some levity. I also think it's interesting too. In the last season, we had Roberto. I think it's Roberto because it was De Niro.
Yeah.
Being basically Meryl's like
senpai.
the guy in charge, yeah. And then losing him, and now she kind of takes on that role. She becomes a little more independent in this series, which was fun to see. And she's also a little more involved too. In the first one, she was kind of on the side a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, she's much more involved, but then also bringing out another character that's regularly around Millie, who has a comedic element to her, but also like a levity to her. But also, there's a lot of scenes where she doesn't seem like she knows what she's doing, but she's trying it out, and then it just kind of works, and it's kind of ridiculous. So
yeah, and she definitely similarly to Vash in the first season brings some lightheartedness to the show, right? Vash doesn't really have a lot of time for that this season, so she kind of fills that role.
That reminds me, one thing about the season that I kind of missed from the first season, but I also kind of appreciate as well, is this season seemed a lot more dedicated to get from point A to point B.
Definitely.
With the objective, whereas the first season had more of the side stories happening, kind of exploring the world a little bit more, which I kind of missed, honestly, in this season. Not to a negative degree. I'm not like docking it points for that, but even though we did get a more big, epic, cinematic story told throughout this season that actually, felt like it was building towards something, then it culminates. Last season felt like that as well, but last season also felt like an anime in the sense that, in this episode, they're stopping by this town, and there's this dude that has this problem. And even though that can get annoying after a while, if every episode's just like that, I think they balanced it pretty well in last season. There was like one or two episodes where we felt like it kind of felt a little bloated.
The beginning felt pretty slow, and it like picked up really good.
But this season just like goes, and it's just this story with a bunch of things that's kind of like revealing as we go. And again, I appreciate the story told, but I did kind of miss the side quests, I guess.
Yeah, and I was going to bring up not quite word for word that, but the pacing felt very different this season, and I don't know if that was a better pacing or not. I actually think I do kind of prefer the way the first season was paced.
I think so too.
But it wasn't like horrible. It was still pretty good. The other thing too, I really liked as well is we had a large cast of I don't want to say villains. What is that? Antagonists? That's the word I want. Anyways, basically Knives crew, right?
I mean, they're villains.
And all of them having like super like very unique abilities and stuff like that, which was a lot of fun. Without going into too many details on all of them, but you had the marionette guy, which was that was a lot of fun from a like animation standpoint, because there's just so many objects on the screen. And
that is one thing about this season that I did like over the last season. I thought the last season was good with this regard as well, but this season the fight scenes were like, there was like great fight scenes in last season, but they were like more spread out.
It was only a handful.
This one, it seemed like every episode.
There was a lot.
Or every other episode. There was some big battle that was like really well done, really creative, and with like different villains with different abilities. We got a good variety of different kind of scenarios that they had to like find their way through and figure out. You bring up him. There's also somebody who's able to like basically move things with his mind, and like just a bunch of stuff. Somebody with like nails.
An audio person, like,
yeah. So like, there's a lot of really cool, interesting bad guys that they got to go through in creative ways. So
yeah, and it was a lot of fun because it's not like you're. I mean, some of it is a little standard. Like obviously, the nail one, could be, it's just a projectile user basically, and then
it seems to be a common thing in a lot of things. People just shooting nails.
Yeah, and then obviously like mental powers, but like the other two. I don't see a lot of marionette, and it's not like I haven't seen it, but it's just not super common. And then like instruments is a pretty uncommon one, especially the way it was used in this. So.
Yeah, and anybody who watched the original show will likely know who we're talking about. I read the manga, even though we haven't read the manga at all, and I've only watched a couple episodes of the original series. I'm kind of thinking about watching it now, but I feel like people will know what we're talking about in that regard. So.
Well, and we're just trying to keep it kind of vague anyways, because obviously in case you're coming to this fresh. So.
And the thing I was going to say too is apparently this and the original show don't follow the manga that closely. They're just like more loosely based off of them. So, but yeah,
it's weird. There's 3 interpretations of the story now.
Yeah, which I get. I hear people don't like that, and I guess if you're a fan of the original manga, you want it to be an anime. It makes sense. Or if you watch the original anime and you wanted this to be that. But, for me, I think it's kind of interesting that you have a variety of different
versions of Vash's Tale,
perceptions of this mythology, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think it gives you variety on different ways to enjoy similar ideas, I guess.
Yeah. I only got a couple more things, and then I'll pass it on to you. But like, another thing this season did really well did really good as well was kind of explore a lot more of like the character of like Vash and Knives, and like without getting too much details, like his hair changing and like why that is, and like the relationship that they have with the plants, or at least the perceived relationship, right, and stuff like that. So a lot of really cool, like basically like lore bits that were kind of thrown in there that really kind of like helped not only like bring the story up to like, when we got to the climax, but then the result of that climax was a lot more impactful afterwards. So they did a really good job with that. If I had like one big nitpick, or not big nitpick, but one nitpick, I think Knives' appearance towards the end of the show is
Ultimate Form,
kind of silly looking. I wasn't super into it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And obviously that's an opinion, but I was like, he was so cool looking before. You kind of made him look goofy now.
Yeah, it looks like a fucking Sonic Adventure Dreamcast boss or something like that.
He's like, it's almost like so low detailed that he doesn't seem to fit in the show anymore. It's really weird. So, but that's probably my biggest critique of the whole show. Otherwise, I had a really good time watching the whole, both seasons. But as a finale, it did a really good job. And on the fact of it being a finale, it ended very well. It is an ending. Like you said, it's open enough they could do something, but I also feel like they gave us a good like I don't feel bad about
It's
it.
a solid ending for sure, but it leaves it open that if they wanted to make another series, and because they're not calling this season 2, it's called Trigun Stargaze, you could make a Trigun whatever the hell,
Right.
and it could be whatever. So I think they left it in a way that's smart for them and works for viewers if they leave it there. So because the story is done. It could continue, but the story's done.
Right.
From what we need from it. So,
But yeah, I enjoyed myself a lot. I don't have any comparisons that I can really bring it to. So I watched this as my, introduction to Trigun, and it was a good time for me. So
yeah. Since you ended with nitpicks, I'll start with nitpicks. My only nitpicks of this season was the pacing wasn't as preferable for me as the first season, which is interesting to think because I do think they handled it well, but I feel like I just kind of miss the pacing of the first season. I miss the side quests of the first season, but I get there's a bigger story they're trying to tell in this, so they're just keeping to it basically. And then also, I miss the Western aspect of the first season. This one leans more into the sci-fi, which is fine. But because I love sci-fi. But I think one of the things that's fun about Trigun is that Western sci-fi feel that it has. And there's a little bit of it here, but they really deal a lot with like ships and like more of the sci-fi elements, and locations are all sci-fi areas for the most part, because of where it's all building to. And there's, as I mentioned, a colony ship showing up, stuff like that. So there's a lot going on that makes sense why they do it, but I did kind of miss like the more Western elements to it. Outside of that though, animation was great. Like I said, I really like the art style of it. I think everything looks really stylized and really, really cool looking. Weapons all look really cool and are creative. Music, like we were talked about, is really good. I think it's one of the standout things of the show, especially because they put a lot of work into the design of the sound and the music for the scenes. So even though sometimes there were parts that were way louder than other things, but that's me being an audio nerd, like just going, ugh. What was I gonna mention here? Vash, I think, was done well. I mean, all the characters were done well from the last season. I did read somewhere that they had changed the voice actor of Knives from the last season to this season. If that's not true, then disregard what I'm about to say. But I didn't even notice until I read that, and then I watched the last episode of last season, and he sounded different. So if he is different, I think they just sound different. I think they both sound good, though. One guy seems to have a deeper voice than the other guy. The other guy sounded a little more chaotic. So, but again, if that's not true, then I'm just making shit up in my head. But they both sound good to me. Without talking about the characters, I just want to touch on them a little bit. We are introduced to a character named Jessica, who I felt shoehorned in a bit. There's some importance to the character, but it didn't feel earned, really. And so, like, when she's being brought up in certain situations, I never felt anything for it. This isn't a complaint. It's just me being honest with how I felt about that. There's another character that's introduced that I'm not even going to talk about, like, really at all, outside of... Well, I think the first season did a good job on allowing us to understand Knives' perspective, even though he's maniacal and evil in a lot of ways. You also understand that he is kind of looking out for his own best interest in his brother and their people, basically. And so it's like, okay, I get it. You're not just like evil to be evil. You have an ambition to create paradise for the people you care about. Completely get it.
Yeah.
In the second season, something's introduced and a character's introduced. Let's say Tesla, so you guys know what I'm talking about. And I think it adds another layer to Knives that makes him even more relatable and adds a little bit of tragedy to his story, which I think I'm a big fan of tragedy. So anything that makes something a little more sad or a little more intense.
His story is definitely that.
Really adds to, because some of the season feels almost like a rehashing of the last season, but advancing it. I felt that for a little bit while watching it. I was like, that's fine, it's entertaining, whatever. But then like some of these things get added, and I'm like, there's kind of adding to the lore more here. Even the way the show culminates at the end kind of reminds me a little bit of last season, but it's different. But because of the finite nature of the ending, I guess, it feels earned and had an impact for me. And I think what was added through this narrative with this character I just mentioned made that even more effective, I guess, in making the end matter. So yeah, that was interesting. There's a lot of other extra characters, especially when it comes to like, I don't even know how to say it. The colony people.
The humans, yeah.
Yeah, the humans. They're all fine, but none of them really stand out too much. I did find it interesting that we get like a brief like airship battle that I wasn't expecting, and it was done well. Well, like I was watching like Star Wars, I was like, okay, they're doing some crazy shit here. So again, like I said, it leans into the sci-fi a little bit more than last season, which, you know, you can't say both seasons are. I mean, I did kind of say that they kind of feel like they're similar in their like theming, but you know, they're different feeling in terms of like pacing, and one leans harder into the sci-fi than the other one. One feels bigger and more epic than the other one, especially after the ending of last season being this big apocalyptic event that happens. It kind of just feels like the stakes have changed and things have gotten more big, and so it feels earned, which I like. What else can I really add to this without talking spoilers? Not a whole lot. Fight scenes were awesome. I already mentioned that, but every time a fight happened, and they happen often, I really enjoyed it because the animation, choreography, all that stuff is done really well. I do get frustrated, just like I did in the first season, that Vash is such a pacifist. That's his character, I know. But there's so many times where I'm just like, just letting shit happen. Just sitting there looking worried. Like, just fucking...
Not even just letting shit happen, letting shit happen to you constantly.
Yeah. And I feel like in the first season, he was a little more quick to be like, I'm going to disable something with a bullet. And it's going to bounce all over the place. And in this, he's just like, lets stuff happen. I'm like, man. And somebody else has to like come in and help him and stuff. So, but he's going through a lot. I get it. It's rough. So, and you know, it is what it is. But yeah, overall, I don't know if I liked this season more than last season, but it's pretty close.
So it's funny. Without getting too into it on specifics, I have my anime list account, and I checked what I rated the last season compared to this one, and I did rate last season a little higher. So
okay, so I don't even remember what I graded last season.
I don't either.
So that's going to be interesting. But I do feel like they're pretty similar in how I feel about them. There's just things about the first season I preferred more, and this season, I don't know if I preferred anything more than the last season, but I did appreciate what they did with it. So no regrets, nothing negative about it. But I do feel like the first season maybe was just a little more, maybe because it was like new, novel, and interesting at that point. This one just feels like we're trying to end shit. It was a little more interesting, but the ante's been raised in a lot of ways though. Like the animation was better, the choreography and the scenes were better, the fights and stuff like that. So. It is what it is. But yeah, overall, I really liked this season. I had no problems watching this. No episode this season where I felt like it was getting slow. I feel like the whole season was just going forward towards what we're trying to get to. I just feel like I wish we had a little more time with some of the characters in a more slower environment, maybe side quests or something like I said before. Yeah, overall, I liked it. If they don't make another season, it makes complete sense. If they do make another season, I will watch it for sure. So, yeah. What would you grade the season?
Thinking, kind of leaning at a high B plus. It was really good. I didn't love the show, but I did really enjoy it, and I would watch another season for sure. But yeah, I don't think it's something I'm like necessarily like
in love with,
yeah, for sure. But it was a good time for sure. And I'm just very impressed by the way Studio Orange made it. So
yeah, that's where I'm trying to balance things, because like for what they do, not the story or anything like that, but just the sheer talent of what they did with the 3D. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but like, which kind of blows my mind. Like maybe you just don't prefer 3D animation, but if you can't appreciate it, that kind of blows my mind, because it's really impressive what they did with this show. It's full of talent and hard work. But yeah, I'm trying to balance that because that I keep going like A minus A, like they did a fucking phenomenal job. But the story itself and the pacing stuff like that, I'm like, I liked it, but I didn't love it. So I think I'm also going to go with a strong B plus, teeter tottering on an A minus. I did want to give it an A minus, but I don't feel strong and confident about the A minus. So I'm just going to go with the safe, strong B plus. It was a super solid series or season. No boring episodes. Just, there was some scenes that were fantastic where I'm like, this is like elevated A area stuff. But, the rest of it was like just a fun, entertaining ride. But yeah, nothing that really pushed it into the A territory for me outside of just the animation quality that Studio Orange does. They're really good. Like so much so that like whatever they do next, I'd be curious to see what they do.
Oh, for sure.
Not even Trigun related. Just like they're really good. It's just like Mappa. If Mappa makes something, like what are they working on?
Yeah, there's definitely a curiosity.
Yeah. So 2 B pluses. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about Trigun Stargaze if you have seen it. Try to keep it spoiler free, and if you're gonna say some spoiler stuff, I'm cool with that. But put like a warning or something like that in case somebody else might see it. I'm trying to respect that, even though I did mention some names I probably shouldn't have, but I feel like I should have mentioned them. And if you haven't seen it yet, are you gonna watch it? Are you looking forward to it? Maybe you watch like an episode or two. I saw some people do reviews of like 1 or 2 episodes and then nothing after that. So maybe they stopped watching it. I don't know. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in general when it comes to Trigun Stargaze. Just so you guys know, we are currently watching Witch Hat Atelier. We're caught up and we'll continue watching it. I have been prioritizing getting this done instead of doing episodic reviews. We will do a mid-season review though, around like episode 5 next episode, not next season. So we'll kind of see where we're at and what we're thinking of the show, and I'll determine if we're going to do episodic reviews of it from there on. The story is getting a little more interesting in terms of what we'll talk about it. And then also we're going to watch Hell's Paradise season 2.
Finally.
Do the whole season and then do a season review like we just did here. Depending on the temperature, we'll see if we'll do a spoiler review or non-spoiler. So yeah, and then if you have recommendations, let us know in the comments what you would like us to watch and review, anime, TV, movies, whatever. We'll take into consideration, but we can't guarantee we will watch it, although we have a little time right now, but I do want to get Hell's Paradise knocked out because we are behind on that. But yeah, I've been Seth, this has been Chevy. Until the next review, we will talk to you guys later.